to be fair.
Playing this thing next coast.
Like, what do you
Cool. Thanks, Brad.
7:00, my friend. That's when we go live. Somehow I don't have a picture from Crawley anymore. Don't understand what happened. But I do have myself, the oldest man of 40K, Brad Chester. I have Mr. Brian Horton. I have Mr. Tom Ogden. He's banned from 3 countries because of his extreme 10th edition thoughts. And then we've got Crawley. We had Crawley, and then he died. And maybe we'll bring him back from the dead, because all we have to do is roll a 2 up, and he comes back.
I mean, depending on the faction, you can just spend 1 CP.
Also true. I mean, there's things we can do here. These things we can do. We can make it happen. We have, in fact, the technology. I actually let Tom go all the way over into my window. You were really stealing my mojo, Tom. You were overlapping on me. Also, Crawley, I don't know what happened, but you got disintegrated. We just have knights now.
Give me a second to fix it.
Speaking of knights, so over the weekend, I played a significant amount of games. I talked to a lot of other people that played a significant amount of games, and one of the factions that seemed, let's say, strong, maybe even down to get the friction on, was knights.
No.
Dude, the towering keyword is bonkersville on most current terrain.
No. The problem is that everybody wants to play scissors and live in a world of paper, but the second that there's a rock that interrupts their plan, then it's like the fucking Joker. They're like, oh, I'm going to take all this AP0 and devastating wounds. Look at me. I'm a snowflake. And then suddenly, oh, well, that doesn't work here. Well, fuck those guys. I just want to do my plan.
Yeah. The fact that the Knights pretty much every game went, hey, is that your models? Click, click, boom. Like, there was one point where we were sitting around, we had Knights versus Demons, and we're trying to figure out what the best placement would be and 18 inches and when they can engage and pop up. And I'm like, hey, man, if the Knights just move up to 18, do they just table that army? And then we rolled it out, and indeed they do table that army. Turns out they were good.
It's a thing that terrain's going to be dependent. If your terrain is under 4 inches and they can just walk straight at you without penalty, it's a big deal.
Dude, Michelle's got it. Knights are a bunch of peeping Toms looking through windows and stuff. Hey, what you doing in there, man?
You remember that? Never mind. No, I won't say it. Never mind.
But Knights felt good. Eldar felt very good. Eldar felt very, this army is going to take a huge cannonball, lose a cannonball of power as soon as they nerf devastating wounds, which they will. There's just 0 chance we're going to have uncapped devastating wounds for more than a month or so. It might be awesome for a tournament or two, but like as soon as they don't have the ability to just pick up models, I think that army's just going to be good.
I honestly think that it's actually just good now outside of a couple of outlying combinations.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it seemed like the top armies are significantly better than everything else. There was, the damage was just bonkers town in every game we played. So I don't know how everybody else felt about that. But I felt that, but I do feel that they're probably going to fix this before we even get to play in any real place. It's not even out officially. They've already scheduled that they're going to have an FAQ immediately. So do you think that they'll deal with those things immediately, guys? What are your thoughts?
My guess is that they're going to drop a minor FAQ day one to address some wording issues and a few little things, and they may go, hey, we're going to cap devastating wounds at X amount for a phase. Could be completely wrong on this. Hope that I'm not, but outside of devastating wounds and towering seeming a little strong, but I think towering comes down to playing on the correct terrain, if you looked at everything that GW put up pictures of, there was tall terrain.
Sure, but if you're talking about what they have, even themselves, though, if you went to a GW tournament, if I played Knights at Kansas City with 10th edition rules, I would always be able to see pretty much my opponent's entire army.
And I agree, but I think part of the issue is, and this is going to come down to the way things end up falling, the terrain has to be minorly updated. TOs are going to have to look at it and go, okay, I need to add a little bit of a height to two of my, large ruin sections, whether it's add a floor, or add new features to try and expand upon them. All of my big ruins, like my 4 GW big ruins, have all had 3 floors.
Yeah.
They have windows on the 2nd and 3rd floor, but they have 3 floors, and that changes things quite a bit.
I mean, I'm not trying to come across as a knight apologist, but for 2 things. One, you can't incidentally and accidentally deal with Marines anymore. And I find that a lot of people find that to be uncomfortable because they're trying to be able to solve the meta with just one aspect. And for 2, I agree that the terrain needs to be updated. But if they cap more, my problem with the capping devastating wounds thing is it's like there are plenty of guns in the game that have devastating wounds with large damage, like for instance the hammerhead. So what do you do when the hammerhead rolls a 6 to wound?
Who cares? You cap it at 6.
Okay, cool. So now the hammerhead does half the damage that it normally does because they accidentally rolled a 6.
So half a bunch of the armies are just literally deucing people out. The fact that you can just put a crisp 50 mortal wounds down is a problem, man.
There's nobody except for Eldar that can do that.
Eldar can do it just easily. Marines can also put out a decent amount of mortal wounds all over the place.
I think it's going to be that the 1 damage mortal, the 1 damage devastating wounds are going to get capped. I don't know if it's going to be 6. Again, that's what they did with the last edition, and we sometimes have to erase the old editions from our mind as we do stuff. I'm not sure what that number is, if they cap it at all. They may just try to let it run the Wild Wild West and see if it's actually a problem, because they're not going to have a ton of data until a month into it.
100%. It's just a lot of, when you're taking agency away from people, it's just hard though. You know what I mean? If somebody shoots you with a Wraith Knight and some D cannons, and all of a sudden you take like 40 mortal wounds, like stat, you're just kind of standing there going, "Welp, cool." It's just like, I don't have an answer for that. Play customs.
Sure. I mean, Zuber and I tried Wraith Knight versus Knights going back and forth. With Fate dice, the Wraith Knight was stronger than a Knight. Wasn't even a question in any way, shape, or form. But it was like, okay, so you can't focus on killing that Wraith Knight. You have to kill everything else.
Well, you can just pick them up. Like we played a Castellan, Canis Rex, and a Paladin with 4 Helverins. The Castellan always picks up the Wraith Knight. Like quickly.
Even with the Fate dice for durability?
Because if you want enough damage, you want 2 Wraith Cannons. I mean, you could do 1 Wraith Cannon, then you're not doing enough damage, in my opinion.
And that's what we were doing, was Wraith Cannon with Shimmer Shield.
Yeah. If you're doing that, then you don't, because then you could have the chance of rolling one shot and stuff. And then you aren't picking things up.
You can CP reroll the 1 shot if you get that. Or you can just use one of your 5s that are not going to be useful for your auto wounding.
It's not one of the things you can roll.
You can't do it with the Fate die.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like the 2 guns, their durability was crazy. Or I'm sorry, their output was crazy and their durability was semi-suspect. But you can always just drop mortal wounds on them also. There was a lot of first turn games going on in all of our testing. It felt like whoever was going first was just putting out a crippling amount of damage. And that was Eldar, Marines, both Knights. It was just crazy. I
mean, that's what we're going to see. That's not specific to any specific army. That's almost all the armies.
But it's not though, because the second tier of armies doesn't have the same ability to put out the same amount of volume, the same amount of consistency with rerolls and everything else, with mortal wounds, volume of fire, and everything else. You've got a big drop off.
And we TTS'd Knights versus GSC, and GSC really was problematic for them. It's very strange, but there are some rock, paper, scissors matchups that are going to be kind of interesting that they're going to come around.
I don't think GSC is going to be a problem for him at all because you're going to have warp spiders.
That's for I was talking versus
he was talking
For
knights.
Knights.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Eldar. I apologize.
I think Eldar and Thousand Suns are the two armies that probably have the ability to deal with GSC the best. Every other army kind of has some.
I mean, Marines
difficulties.
pick them up in one turn.
But they can't get rid of the blips in that one turn.
They just
and
don't
a lot of stuff's coming back.
But if they're going to be at the back, or I'm just going to put 3 Desolators into every single unit and leave them with like 2 guys everywhere on the board.
I don't know. I'm pretty excited for Eldar right now.
Yes, 100%.
I really feel like my 5th edition Eldar, which is you remember that it's been on the shelf for like what 11 years, Brad, and it's suddenly viable again. And it's beautiful. Like you remember Lauren's paint job. Like for something that was painted back when the techniques were out back then, I love it. And I'll get a couple things fixed here and there, but it's a great army. I'm excited for it. Wraithknights, War Walkers, Warp Spiders, loving it. I just went through all Forge World kits I never even built. That's been sitting in a pile of shame for 10 years, and I'm pulling turrets out because I got the turrets to turn my Wave Serpents into what do you call them? What'd you say?
Night Spinners.
Night Spinners, yeah.
Night Spinners are boss mode. The thing is that when we played the games versus everything that wasn't the top, those 4 armies, I actually like the 10th edition. I like the 10th edition missions, secondaries, and everything else a lot. The game seemed very fun. We just needed to do something about devastating wounds, indirect, and towering. There you go. You know what I mean? Everything, the game itself felt very, very good. It's just that the damage from those top armies with devastating wounds, towering, and indirect just seemed oppressive.
Yeah, the thing, and we had a patron call over on Discord where I just had some patrons, and I was actually building my first 10th edition list, and I was explaining to them because I had a lot of guys like, "Well, Tom, what are you gonna do for Tau?" And I'm like, "Tau's good. Don't get me wrong. Tau is good, but in an edition right now where we're at, where you have like 5 oppressive armies, which is going to be Grey Knights, it's going to be Knights, it's going to be Marines, it's
Grey
going to be
Knights are that
Eldar.
oppressive.
I think they're oppressive when I looked at them. And then also, what was the 5th one? Well, there's 5 of them. I listed them. If you're not one of those 5 armies, Demons is the 5th one. If you're not one of those 5 armies, like I think me on Grey Knights, me on Marines, me on Eldar, me on Demons, me on Marines, if I'm playing on any of those 5 armies against me on Tau, I just dumpster it. And that's my only complaint right now. I like a lot of the changes. I like some of the things they've done. I can get behind like this Age of Sigmar way of building lists now. It's a little weird. I think I like the way 40K used to be, where it was more tactically building, where you had points and you could try to add single guys here and really customize lists. So you guys see a lot more copy, like net listing, a lot more like straight up copying. But codexes like Tau, where they're good, they're just not great. They just won't do well right now. And there's a few codex like that. I think Drukhari has a way of being sneakily good as well. There's a couple builds I think they'll get nerfed because I think the way people are playing them, it's correct as it's written, but I don't think it's how they want to do it. And I could be wrong, but we'll see. Drukhari can actually be pretty good, but it sucks when you have a codex. This is a cool army. It works well. It's got cool mechanics and it's good. But how do you play against the oppressive stuff? In my opinion.
The way that leaders are attached to the fact that indirect is so ridiculously powerful right now, you can't even bring certain characters against certain armies. It just doesn't do anything. Like we were just joking about, but like if you put your Farseer in a unit of 10 Guardians, you put your whatever in a unit of T3 guys, things like Spinners, things like Desolation Marines, you know what I mean? Guard, they'll just instantly pick up that unit and that character. So it's just like they have no real protection. And if you're not a character that's basically lone operator, or you're a character that's joined a beefy unit, you know what I mean, a Terminator unit, a command unit, something that has some feel no pain, something that has the ability to shake off mortals, it's almost like I don't even know if I'll run characters that aren't lone operatives, to be perfectly honest so far.
One of the things that a couple people in chat have talked about this is like, is there some armies that they're wondering if they should bother showing up? Right, Death Guard, some Votann players feel that way. AdMech players feel that way.
Well, Votann actually can sneakily be good. Like their Terminators are super good right now. There's a couple builds for Votann. Votann to me is like that. I think they're an A+ tier. They're not in S tier yet, but they can compete if some things go their way. Death Guard players, I'm sorry, like I don't.
But no,
Feels
it's the
bad.
beginning. The problem is that we're at the beginning of an edition, and in the beginning of every edition, everybody goes to skews. This is
100%.
going to happen.
Yep.
And so the reason that we're seeing this is because there's no solved meta. People don't just go to the random stream of their favorite buddies, go up on BCP and copy paste a list. This is exactly what I said for months was going to happen, is that T12 is going to be the way to go because now you can't fix it in melee, and indirect basically kills anything that would effectively kill it. So it becomes an armor versus armor meta because they made indirect too good. So the only way that you can deal with anything right now is that, like, the reason that Eldar players are taking Wraithknights is because they're just fantastic. They have a 4-up invuln, and they press auto 6 to automatically delete a unit or thing, just like we had the problem with Votan's big top gun, where it could just delete a unit by flailing. Once we fix the indirect, then the tank's going to be fine.
I was to say, for me, it's indirect towering, devastating wounds. If you just do some quick things, I actually thought the 10th edition rules felt really, really good. I actually like the like I said, the missions quite a bit. Like, it was very fun. It felt more interactive, but like the damage just felt bonkers down.
And I think as a TO, when I look at it and I hear people going, "Oh, well, this towering is crazy," and I'm like, I have tall buildings. You can put stuff in a spot in my buildings. You can put, like, I was trying it out today. I was putting a 10-man Marine squad in the bottom of the building, going, all right, you can hide 10 Marines. Can you hide 20? No. That second row of Marines behind, you can see through a second floor window and pick them out. But there was ways to hide stuff. There was ways to maneuver stuff. And I looked at the GW layouts and I honestly was just playing around trying to find ways to adjust a little bit here and there to help them out. And it seems like I was able to do it without making them oppressive.
Well, like, I've played on various different table size, right? So I've got ITC sets, I've got GW sets. Like, I like to make sure I'm practicing for everything. GW terrain, at least the way that we've seen it before, makes this awful. Towering is just literally, I just see the entire table. Heck, the orc terrain has less than 4 inches, so you just walk across it. Table doesn't exist, right? But you do, like, ITC with, like, the ruins tables, you have good coverage. First floor blocks, line of sight being across the board. You can't necessarily be shot by towering super easily, right? All those buildings give a good amount of cover. The Sisters table is another good example. Those L's are fantastic. You can't get angles around it. WTC terrain works pretty effectively. There's some really nasty angles, but the terrain's tall. It's all dependent upon the terrain. But the more a lot of people right now are testing because, like, Tacoma's coming up on GW terrain, and if GW hasn't revamped their entire terrain system, it's going to be World of Knights.
Yep.
Because you get
100%.
on that orc table and everything is.
Well, it's any of those. You take the orc table, you take half of them. Any of the ones that just have the 5-inch tall or lower used because they just count as are going to be a big deal with that.
Imagine, and I'm kind of glad now that I gave you my spot at ATC. Man, ETC's train when towering, holy shit.
Well, it's worse than you think, because remember, the rule that they had last year was from wall to wall. So you could put the two big ruins together and make a 24-inch obscuring, right? Well, now you can do that against your opponent and play knights, and you still see everything because it had holes and everything, but they can't see through to shoot anything in the back end with your Helvarians and stuff. It's going to be... Or you get the pyramid table and then there's nothing, and you're just like, okay, cool, you die on turn 1. Let's go get a beer. We'll go hang out with Ogden for the next 2.5 hours.
Brad, is there any doubt in your mind that if I was going to ATC, I was the knight player?
It wouldn't even mattered if somebody else had it. You would have still just bumped them out of the way and started playing their game.
It's like, I don't care, I'm playing knights.
Someone brought up Grey Knights too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, the KR in chat goes, GW could just stack those buildings they have. Just put them up. See, perfect. Just big ass terrain.
I honestly think that would be a great idea, except for the fact that the second floor doesn't have any floor, and then now it creates a weirdness.
Somebody was poo-pooing me. We were talking about ATC, and I was like, well, I said, the honest to God, what I would bring if I was bringing a team to ATC, I'd bring a Knights army, I would bring a Chaos army, I would bring a World Eater army with 3 Lord of Skulls, I would bring Eldar with Wraithknights, and I would bring Desolation Marines. Or
poo-pooed
I would bring,
you.
or I would bring Chaos Space Marines with 3 Lord of Skulls, because if you do that, you're like, here, do you have enough stuff to kill everything T12? And the answer is probably not, and it would just be silly. Every game
So
would
you
be
play
over in
against
45
Eldar.
minutes.
In his first race, I was like, doo-doo!
No, literally,
That was a nice little story, yeah.
The answer is give Knights a 10% point increase, and you knock off the 4th big Knight. And then it's 3 big Knights and 3 or 4 little Knights, and it's fine. The problem is that 4th big Knight is oppressive and awful.
I really want to play 2 Wraithknights. I know, like, mathematically, doing the math, it's better to run 1, but I really just want to run 2.
No,
I think it's
2 is
fun.
the sweet spot. 2
Two's the
is
sweet spot.
perfect because you do
Three's
2
too many,
Farseers.
two's the sweet spot.
You do 2 Farseers for the -1 to wound. You have enough fate dice to recycle for defense if you go second or offense.
Yeah,
you
but-
take the 4-up invul and you can't die.
Can't wait for you to throw that Farseer in something so I can bomb him out turn
Yeah, how
one.
does the Farseer stay alive is my question.
It doesn't. You run at them turn 1, you don't die, and then you just kill everything that can kill your Wraith Knights, and then you just profit. Like, that's literally all you do.
Hence
you go
the reason
second,
we
you
have
fix up
to.
your-
We literally just. They have to fix devastating wounds. We have to get towering, and we have to get indirect, because that's literally all that happened in playtesting. Is this? It felt like every single game was just. Let me roll a giant amount of dice, take 600 mortals, and take your 900 saves.
No.
And here's my anti-vehicle 2 for my grab. Everybody dies. You're like,
So, Brad, as you ran everything, what type of, when you were looking at secondaries, were you running fixed or were you running tactical?
we actually did it cool because we were practicing. We didn't know what it was going to be because ATC had put up their packet, brought it down, put it back up. So we had one side running fixed and we had the other side doing random. And most of the randoms are actually fairly good, and they actually score you more points. And a couple of them are only available in the random, like the no prisoners. No prisoners is crazy good. Like,
Yep.
kill something, get 2 points. You can get a bonus points for killing more stuff. It was really, really strong, and it felt pretty fun, to be honest with you. I've liked 10th quite a bit. They just have to get a couple
So
that.
what Brad was talking about was, see if I can get it to show up on screen, maybe, possibly.
100%.
While he's doing it real quick.
I was
Real quick,
just going to go to the board real quick. People are in chat.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you a question because someone's asking you a question. I think it's pretty good. What would your solution be to towering?
Towering, I would do terrain. I would do 1 or 2 pieces of terrain, like we used to do back in old editions, that it just counts obscuring to everything. The whole piece, you can't see through it no matter whether you're towering or not. That would be an easy fix. You do 1 or 2 of those, and you give your opponent, because old terrain used to be just obscuring to everything. You know what I mean? It didn't make any difference. You just couldn't see through it as 1,000 feet tall. So you could do something like that, and it's an easy fix. Obviously, everybody's not going to have the terrain ready to go to do this. There is a lot of 3-story terrain that would work perfectly for that. The problem is a lot of people grabbed some of the shorter GW terrain, the FLG ruins and stuff like that, the orc tables and stuff like that, and those don't help. So you either have to say, just it's an abstract, kind of like the old first floor blocks. Well, instead of first floor blocks, it's just the whole piece blocks, you know.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that that's the solution, because knights are such a delicate balance.
Sure, but give me a better solution than that, than just getting shot and killed. I want to go to what Matt said. He goes, over the editions, it's basically worst, the most unfun, when people are getting shot off the table and feel powerless to stop it. Basically, anytime that you don't feel that you have agency in the game, you have no bearing on what happens, that is unfun. Armies can be OP all day long, but as long as they can do something, it's fine. If I feel that I don't have agency over the game, then I don't have a good time. No one's having a good time.
But the problem with this is that we're ignoring the fact that, like, part of this edition, melee was the same thing. They can hide inside of the building, stage directly in the middle. You put a obscuring triangle directly in the middle if you got their terrain drop, and there's nothing you can do.
There was, though. You could do stuff against that. I could literally move block. I could take different things. I could spread the board out. I could take different angles to shoot you so that you couldn't get me, or you'd have to move off the middle. I have plays against that. I don't have a play if you just go derp to derp, your army's dead. There's nothing you can do.
I just disagree, because nobody was over there advocating for knights as they were getting shot off the table or hammered off of the table, because everything is strength 8+ in all of 9th edition.
I
Right?
think part of the issue is with And just like very much at the start of 8th edition. And I have to remind people at the start of 8th edition who played that, who went from 7th to 8th, when you sat down at a table and was like, oh, look, 5 Storm Ravens and Gilliman. All right, this is over in 30 seconds. It wasn't fun. Yeah. And it wasn't interactive. There wasn't anything you can do. Knights have kind of that same feel. Not quite at the same level, I don't think, because they don't have quite as much mobility. But it seems like taller terrain is part of the solution.
Which is why they put plunging fire in, right?
Yep.
I like some things that Chatter's saying. I like some things that Brad's saying. And I even agree with you. Like, you can't nerf it too hard because then guard goes back to being unplayable or underpowered. Why don't we add towering as like a faction rule where you get to pick one unit per turn that can ignore it? You know, like pick one unit.
I would be fine with that. Yeah. I just don't know. I've never seen GW to be delicate.
Well, you don't also have to choose, Carly. You don't have to do all of the terrain like that. You just need something that I need to feel like I can do absolutely freaking anything, man. Like on most of this terrain, there is not a place I can stand. That's not cool.
For those people that were at Salt City last year and who have come to many of my events or were at Du Bois, they saw some of the terrain that I'm using for that. It's made by the same company that makes WTC terrain. It's 3 stories tall. It's a U. It has 2 floors. It allows you to set up for plunging fire, which I think is a fun rule, which hasn't gotten used in a lot of people's games because they don't have the terrain for it. And there's a lot of nuance and delicacy to those 4 big buildings. And then you have 2 smaller ruins that we're using. And then, honestly, cargo crates, because I think they're a key component because they have some movement blocking that they didn't have before. And they seem like they're going to be good. And then a couple pieces of forest. It's one of those things of we have to adjust to the new edition, and I think terrain's the first step in that direction.
100%.
I mean, and we had this same problem going from 8th to 9th when obscuring was added as a keyword. This was horrendous in the beginning of 9th edition.
True. Yep. Well, the thing is, as Boku just said, it's WTC terrain is the way to go to fix towering. And when they say for people that aren't familiar with it, WTC terrain has a lot of different types, but all of their ruin and walls are all very large. They have multiple big things with no windows that are 3 stories high, and then they have your regular standard small ruins with windows and stuff that they could see over. But it gives you an option for both, so the night players still have agency over half or more of the board. You know what I mean? And you have 1 or 2 places where you don't just get instantly killed.
Yep. And I think that, like in every edition of the game, when there's an edition change, mobility becomes a key. And those 2 or 3 armies that are going to have massive mobility are going to be good early on just from that aspect, as you learn how to play the missions and how to maneuver around all the new stuff. Because if you had never played 40K before and you picked this up as a new game, would you have all these complaints? Probably not, because you would just be getting used to the new things. That's kind of what you have to wipe out of your head some of the old stuff that you were like, well, back in this. No, wipe it out.
I'll give you that. But the thing is that it's still the feeling like I have the ability to play the game, which is going to require terrain, which is going to require a little bit of a devastating wounds nerf for sure. Devastating wounds without a cap have been a problem every time they have been uncapped. Mm-hmm. Every single time.
The counter on Brian's point, though, if you're a new player and you're playing this game and you dropped hundreds of dollars on your first army, trying to learn to paint it, and you play against a night player and he just kills you in 1 turn, you're going to quit the hobby.
So one of the things you got to look at, and I agree with that, is that that's definitively a problem as well. But the people who are helping people learn the new game, right? Because new players don't go right to tournaments. It's very rare that you see someone's first game is at a GT, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I had the quote of, if they only had 9 older editions of the game to learn from their mistakes.
No, it's not. It's not like that. Because
think this. This is one point I make. When you have me saying this shit is too lethal, the guy that played tall last season and enjoyed tabling my opponent, like I was like quoted by Brad saying, "Hey, I don't need to worry about my mission secondaries. I'll get that after I kill all the models. And when I'm like, yo, bro, this shit's killy as hell. Like, there's a problem with this.
Everyone was like, oh, well, they lowered the AP, so it's not going to be as lethal. And I'm like, Devastating Wounds made it so AP didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? So is Devastating Wounds really the massive amount of the problem? And I think all of us are agreeing that Devastating Wounds is clearly going to be an issue.
Huge. That and indirect and the towering. It's the towering / people's terrain. And I'll agree with you, Crowley, on this. If everyone had Brian's type, had WTC type, the Knights would not feel as oppressive. But if I'm playing in every single terrain piece that I've seen at FLG or every GW piece, you know what I mean? That's a problem.
And
real quick before
player placed with this level of lethality from towering things.
Oh, it's gonna be horrible.
Oh, it's gonna be. I would feel bad as someone who doesn't like player placement. And I'll be honest, I don't like it. I've been pretty vocal about that. But man, if I was playing Knights and I rolled up to a table and I went, "Hey, look, middle objective, great.
Welcome to the Terror Dome."
Real quick though, before we go any further, because we're at the halfway point. Hey guys, if you could give us a like and subscribe, help us out. Appreciate you guys. For those new to the channel, see a lot of new names today. Glad to have you on the show. Love our chaotic organization. We just like to rant and have fun and talk about cool things. But give us some like and subscribes. We got almost 70 people watching and only 19 likes. So get a couple more. We'd appreciate you guys.
So, Quintero, you're right. I do not have 500 tables. I do have almost 100, though.
I want to say, though, I think that they've done some things significantly right with this new
100%,
right?
dude. Yeah. Seriously, any army that wasn't those top armies, the game felt awesome. Like literally, I like the mechanics, I like the rules, I like the missions and stuff. They were really cool. It's just the fact that you take the top and just went your table. You're like, but these mechanics are cool. Like, well, you don't have any models. But when you weren't playing those, it felt great.
We gave him 30 minutes of complaining that Devastating Wounds and Towering and Indirect are going to ruin the game. Let's talk about some things that we like, that we've seen competitively, that we've enjoyed.
New missions, the new movement.
I like the simplicity, to be honest with you. I like the fact that every index has like 6 stratagems. So for people who don't play this super competitively, can walk into a game and have a general idea. Like they don't need an hour-long explanation of what the army can do. It's like, this is my faction, this is what its bonus is, and these are my 6 stratagems. I think that's a pretty cool move.
Dude, the amount of interactions in your opponent's phase is so much better now. The fact that you can do movements, you can do shooting, you can bring a unit in. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that you can start countering. You can make a movement, you can shoot somebody. There's more give and take. You know what I mean? We're not doing an activate kind of game, but it still feels pretty good to not be completely silent during your opponent's turn.
I like the random, like, hey, you moved to within 9 inches of this unit. It moves 6. I can take away angle. I like the little bit of shenanigans that are embedded into the cards themselves for the units. Instead of it being a stratagem, it's like, hey, this is what they do. I actually really like the cards. And this is like the unit cards, because at the beginning of the game, you can just hand your stack to your opponent. And this is a recommendation I'm going to make is, while we have them, buy 2, print 2, whatever you decide to do. Please don't scroll through on your phone, print your cards up, make everybody's life easier. Hand somebody your set of cards and go, this is what my army does. So when you go, I'm going to do I'm activating this unit right now, and they can go, all right, pull it up and go, all right, because there's none of us who are in a couple weeks going to know every unit, what everything does, unless you have an eidetic memory, which I don't think any of us do. But
I do. I just don't use it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love
eidetic memory away.
True.
Well,
I was one of the things you can do. I think that's something I really like, is that you can hand someone your cards and go, here's my army.
I love that.
I agree with you, Brian. I was actually going to say, because we had Terran Team, one of my baby boys in here saying that he would argue that it's less simple when every single unit has its own special rule. Well, the difference with him, that in the previous editions, you'd had multiple book sources and FAQs and stuff, and like you have to look around and carry so many books with you. Now it's like, here's my data cards. I love you said that, Brian.
Mhm.
And I got 9 unique units in my army. I have 2 copies. Here's set 1. I'll have set 2. And when I go to activate, I still have my set if I need to reference something. But now you have one that you can actually use to reference as well. It's fantastic.
And I got to say that, Zuber and I did a game where we were trying to scroll back and forth between cards for a minute, and we were like, all right, off to the printer. And I printed up the cards, and we were just playing with, the contents of the Leviathan box, but it was just so fast to go, all right, here you go, this done. And I think the cards are I hope they continue to do them as they put out codexes, because I love the idea of it. I liked them when they did them in AOS. I really am going to enjoy them in 40K while we have them, without a doubt, because I just think that's a great thing.
I agree with KR. We need clocks, because otherwise you two will not let me talk for like 5 minutes straight.
Have you met me?
No, I think my favorite aspect is secondaries, because the permanent secondaries, if you choose to, are almost impossible to score a 100, but you can build a reliable plan around them. But playing tactical secondaries is just so much fun, because being able to discard 1 for 1 CP once per game, and then at the end of your turn to be able to do it, and you give it, like, it gives you this mission, but your opponent doesn't know necessarily what your game plan is going to be for the next turn, or they get to interact and they're like, okay, I get to pick your plan. You need to go pick that one as your priority objective over there and go primary that one. And I'm like, yes, but if you do that, then I'm going to be knocking your unit over there. Are you sure you don't want to make it? And it creates this really cool back and forth with your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like the secondaries the most, as long as they stay. I think that there needs to be at least one more that's a little bit more reliable, because right now they're either play Grey Knights, play Tyranids and abuse Spore Mines, or hope you play into Knights. Yeah.
So I got to go with, I really like this deployment zone. I'm not sure how well it's showing up on screen. There we go.
That one's great.
I really like it. I think it's really nice. Sweeping engagement's really cool. I like the way the objectives are laid out. It's very, very interesting. I think it's going to be really interactive.
Hunter, you can't really effectively do that. If you table your opponent on turn 2, if you're drawing, it's going to be bad. And if your plan is to do it, you're not going to be scoring your other secondaries.
Pulling that gambit, baby. I'm putting all my units in the middle, rolling a couple 4-ups. 30 points, dog! Woot!
If you table your opponent on turn 2, you can just score primary. That's not the problem.
That's all I need. He didn't score any secondaries.
No, Corey, I'm not raising my hand to talk. I have to do that shit at work as a day.
Well, we need you to raise your hand from now on, Stephen. Thank you.
Tell me to shut up, Stephen, without a doubt.
No. I'm giving y'all shit because of
Yeah, just do what I do. I just start over talking.
Yeah, just bully my way in.
Just bully your way in.
Hey, if you let Brad and I go, we will just talk for 2 hours and no one else will say another word.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I know who I am. I've seen me.
Stephen, what's your favorite faction right now, by the way?
So
anyways, Brad, like I was saying, that's how you do it.
Woo! Giving you a Ric Flair for that one.
But you just play Tau and roll over all these Knight players on turn 1. You're like, towering sucks.
Tau are great at killing infantry and not so good at killing vehicles.
I don't know. You should talk to your boy Brenton. He's figured the shit out. He's got
the secret sauce.
Yeah, he's got the secret sauce.
I was gonna say, I know what army he's making. Him and I made it together and put it on the table.
All right, so let's. He told me his army, and me and him play, and I bring Eldar or Knights, and I just win, guaranteed.
So do you guys think that we are really going to see like leaf blower style lists?
Yes.
That is just going to be big T things, multiple shots, reasonable damage, just to kill off anything that's not a vehicle, and then
GW made a huge mistake in expanding the toughness to the degree that they did, and making melee suck so much.
Yes,
right.
Agreed.
That was a huge mistake.
Let's go to the wall real quick, because Anna asked us a question twice. Asking again in case it was missed, do you think Hundos or Go Home is done for tournaments because of the new scoring? I hope so, because the scoring's actually fairly interactive now, and there's some missions, especially primary missions, where you can't even get a big score unless you do go for a gambit. Like if you burn the objectives down a mission, that you can't. It's not even possible to put up a giant score in that one unless you go for a gambit.
Your highest scores will be 90s now, like 90, 92s, and they're reliable.
Challenge accepted.
Except for Tom, who's going to get 107 somehow. Very odd score, but still done.
Completely legal.
Yeah, like Tom tabled
I
him
can't
on
wait to see it.
deployment. How? I don't know, man. It just happened.
We need a TTS, Tom, so that way I can beat you finally.
Okay, I'll TTS you tonight. Let's go live right now. And switch it over to TTS, everyone.
We'll throw it up on the thing and whatever.
Right now. Brad, you're the ref.
I'm on it.
Brian, you're my moral support.
You know what? I want to go to Corey's on the wall here with a really good point, because it was really in effect. You knew it was happening, but until you saw it on the board, it's so strong. The fact that non-infantry fly, it doesn't even feel like they have fly. You know, you're measuring up and over, it doesn't even make a difference. You're like, most of your tanks are so big that if you want to go up and over a wall, that's more than their movement. So yes, it felt really bad.
Is there a difference between fly and infantry, though? You got to measure up?
No, fly,
over?
the infantry guys can go through the wall.
Right. Infantry going through ruins with fly is better than a vehicle or a monster with fly, because they have to go around the wall. Infantry can go through the wall.
Yep.
Look at right there. Lyle says, who needs to wait for Friday, Steven? He wants us to do a Monday night melee, and he's about to fire up the Streamlab for us, right, baby boy?
M&M, baby. M&M.
Yeah, got a new stream for us, boys.
Exactly. Everybody goes, RIP Wing Monsters. Why fly when I can go around?
I don't even want to call it fly. I want to call it like first edition Superman. So remember, like Superman was around, he couldn't like actually fly. He could just jump really far.
It's
like that's what I picture fly.
I mean,
now.
they can
just
like
jump really far.
levitate low.
Do we
exactly.
think that with the rules coming out for the thing that they'll cap deep strike amounts back, or do you think it's going to be you're going to be able to completely null deploy like you can now?
I think you're going to be able to know
that was a question I asked someone who's on the rules team, and I said, "Hey, it looks like that deep strike doesn't count into the strategic reserve pool. Can I get a clarification on this?" And I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Because right now, Grey Knight, I've played a couple of games against Grey Knights, and it's super weird where they're like, I have one unit on the table, you move within 9 inches of it, it's gone, and then suddenly the entire army appears like perfectly, like
we were here the whole time.
Yeah, it's like freaking like on your left cap over here playing against the Avengers with these fools just surrounding you from all sides.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and then 3 of them go up and do the thing at the end of your turn, and you're like, oh, well, hi. It's like playing against GSC, but they just surround you and they're good.
Yeah.
I gotta see Grey Knight. I haven't seen Grey Knights in action yet on a table.
Oh, they're good.
They seem good, but I don't know if they're like
super heavily pointed though, man. Like
yeah,
their
they're
points,
so expensive.
They're so expensive. Great rules, but like so expensive.
Yeah,
I think
but
it's going to suffer from like what Custodes suffered from at times, where their rules are really, really good, but their points are so high that maybe they're not playing as good into all of the mission. I could be wrong.
I like Grey Knights. Period. I think they're one of the top 5 armies.
Okay.
I think they're very good, but they do have limited models for sure.
I think them so much that I think I could beat Brad's Eldar with them.
You're so cute.
I'll probably table Brad 2 turns, and then I'll buy him some wine to make him feel better.
Yeah.
I'll let him sit on my lap like Brick
So
Brother style.
what's everybody's thought on gambits now that we're kind of like going into the missions a little bit? Is it one of those things where it's like, well, I'm just going to table my opponent and I can gambit, or is it?
It's both.
You know,
for me, it's a little bit of both. The only gambit that I like the gambits that you have to have a lot of units and you have to make a tactical decision. I don't like the gambit that just says, hey, put a guy in the corner and just roll 2d6 and just YOLO Swaggins an 11 and you just get 30 points. I don't like that one at all, because that one doesn't require any skills, and or even trying to. Sometimes when you're gambiting, you're pushing the middle. The other one is getting everybody into engagement. So like you have to make risks for both of those gambits. They're actually gambits. The other one's just like derp to derp, maybe. Like sometimes
you're taking a risk by saying I'm not scoring any more primary from turn 3 forward.
Sure.
Do you score it on turn 3 or do you not score it?
You score it on the end of the game.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's 3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
Yeah, you better score a really good primary on turn 2.
I mean, yeah, you're talking about 50. You're talking about giving out the potential of 50 points for, let's say, on turn 2 you scored, 12.
I need to
You get
really
42?
on the TO on that. Is that you scored on 2? Do I score it on 3 and then gambit? Because both of them are at the beginning of 3. So do I score and then say I'm going to gambit?
I kind of like what Hunter said.
I think you
LVO.
actually have to give up your primary. I don't know. Let's take a double check.
Hunter, I hope that you do. I really want to see GW's face. If you are like literally down by like 10 points, right? It's like the sweatiest game ever. And then you just hard roll the 11 in the corner. And like the whole room just erupts.
Oh no, you do score primary on turn 3.
Yeah.
Because it's at the end of the 3rd battle round, before starting the next battle round. Players can generate gambits.
But no, like Hunter said, winning like something like LVO off of a YOLO swag 12-rolled gambit, it's like, walk off home run. That'd be like the greatest feeling ever.
Yep.
On stream, but oh man, I'm getting my ass.
Pajamas was so excited about that one. He looks at me and goes, "You know that if we play, there's 100% chance I always get the gambit, no matter what." He's like, "I'm gonna stare you in the eyes and drop my 11." What?
So Fate Reborn, I did try one game with GSC, and they were much better than I thought initially they were going to be.
I don't want to support Brad's sayings, but I kind of think he's right, though, because I don't think I've had a single game that's actually made it to turn 3 where I had to decide if I wanted to gambit.
You know what? Screw you, man. You argued against me for 25 minutes, and you're like, also, yeah, I almost played turn 3, but then I didn't.
I mean, I wanted to. I had to like draw my random cards to see if I was able to score points.
Oh.
Well, I love Corey's suggestion. We should start muting Crowley and only unmute when he raises his hand.
You know what? Well, let's talk about this. We did title this tier rankings and point impressions. So we basically said our point impressions and our initial impressions of the game, which is, I really think that this edition is going to be fantastic as soon as we change 3 things, which I think are going to be changed fairly quickly by either the community or FAQ. With that being said, as everything is right now, what's your top 5, top 10? I don't even care. What's your tops?
Go ahead, Tom.
You can't unmute him in revenge.
Oh.
I love you, Crowley, so much. Touche.
Notice I set that up well for you, Crowley.
Thank you. I appreciate the
All the
alley-oop.
turntables.
Turntables.
So, Tom, what's your favorite army?
Oh, I
really think Craft World are.
You have learned.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Okay, go for real.
No, I'm good now.
Okay. Ryan, what's your opinion?
So it's tough because I think T-Suns, Thousand Suns, or yeah, T-Suns and Thousand Suns. I think Thousand Suns are really good. I think Knights are very good. I think Marines are really good. I think Eldar are crazy. And then that 5th one, I'm not sure yet. I haven't been able to pinpoint it. I want to say Death Watch, but I'm not positive.
Brad?
Oh, sorry, I was dancing. Both Knights, Eldar, Marines. I think Demons are a super tactical army. I love them. The armies that feel 10th edition great and didn't make me want to shoot myself in the head are Demons. I felt Necrons were really, really good as far as they played the game really well and they were strong. And Demons. The Demons and Necrons, I felt, are 10th edition armies right now. They have a lot of strengths. They don't overpower anybody and make you go, oh, I'm dead instantaneously if I didn't go first. But they had a lot of ways to play the game. I think those are the armies that we should be, like, I wish other armies were, I wish everybody had that kind of power into 10th.
I personally think it goes Knights first right now until they fix towering. They're just extremely oppressive. I think it goes then Eldar, then Thousand Suns, Marines, and Grey Knights.
T-Suns are super strong with Twist of Fate. I have to put that in there.
Yeah, I think T-Suns are really good with Twist of Fate. I really do think that we're in a really good spot with a couple of other factions. I don't think Knights will be oppressive once terrain gets caught up. Like, I don't think that Salt City is going to be won by a Knight player, if we're being completely honest. I think once they fix Devastating Wounds, I think Eldar are in a really good spot because they can't really do.
Sorry, I Kara called me out. The custodes
Are fantastic.
Well, no, that's the thing. The armies that I think are awesome 10th, custodes, Necrons, demons, all felt super good into the mechanics and the things. I apologize. Go ahead.
If you want a solution to all of your 10th problems, it's Custode. The only problem is it's such an elite army that it's swinging if you mess up or you don't roll saves. But you want to fix Knights? Allurus go, hey, I can roll 4s with 4 rerolls to wounds. I can kill Knights. You want to deal with Devastating Wounds? I get 4-ups against that. You want to deal with being able to score secondaries? It'd be a shame if I was to teleport to the other side of the table at the end of your fight phase. Like, they have everything that you need.
Yeah. So you're saying is
well.
to fix the game, everything has to have 4+ field of pains against mortal wounds.
I do not think
give everything 4.
I do not think that Devastating Wounds are a problem. I don't. I think there are a couple outliers.
Let me play a game or two against you, buddy. I'll you'll sing a different.
Are you going to
tune.
play Eldar?
Yeah.
Because I said Eldar are a problem. Outside of Eldar, they're not a problem.
Does anyone here watch Dave Chappelle?
Oh yeah, come on, bro.
I think Stephen Crowley's a victim blamer. The way he says, I don't think devastating wounds are a problem. I feel like he's that victim blamer. He's like, what
my list has almost no devastating wounds in it, and I still haven't lost a game in 10th yet.
Yeah,
I'd say you would have lost a game in 10th, but you probably haven't even played one yet.
He's like devastating wounds. Well, what were you wearing at the time when they used the devastating wounds against you?
So join us again next week as we are demonetized because of Thomas Ogden.
Yeah,
I just ignore it.
Well, how am I demonetized for that? For quoting a Chappelle skit?
As I was saying,
that wasn't good, dude.
So
anyway,
Peach was talking about the Predator Destructors. And I don't know if I like them because they are still in the actual good, like, they're not overpriced and underpriced, and anything that's not underpriced is like, do I take this? But them getting sponsons for free, you're just slapping lance cannons and stuff on there, is pretty legit. You know what I mean? They're like, what, $140?
Think so?
It's not bad. I've been debating on it. As soon as we don't have the ability to just drop crazy mortals on people, I think a lot of these, like, mid-level tanks and stuff like that, we gotta see. I wish we got Forge World today. I thought we were supposed to get Forge World today, and we did not. God, Hunter, how much is GW paying you, Crawley? Blink twice if you're being held hostage. Oh.
You know what? You guys go ahead and do your thing. We'll see how many events in July get won by models with devastating wounds, and we'll see where the real power lies.
I'm about to devastate you with devastating wounds.
You ain't going to nothing other than Salt City and ATC.
I am
and
literally
ATC
going to make you wear a shirt that says devastated.
I love it.
Do we think that lethal hits could be as good as devastating because of that automatic wound on all the T12 stuff?
If your plan, I love it because since 10th edition, Brad has become a freaking fanboy for 6s. And every other time we would talk about this in previous editions, if your plan is to roll 6s, you're going to lose games.
100%.
Now he's like, roll 6s! I win all the games!
My plan is to roll 6s, but I actually cheat them down and use the anti-rule and roll 2s. So,
Brad, did you spend too much time with Alan recently?
Exactly. He's just like, all you got to do is roll 82% 6s. You win every game, yo.
Hey, Corey, don't be publishing my OnlyFans here, okay?
So, Crowley, wait a minute. If you don't think devastating wound combos is not like the most impressive right now, what's the true power in your opinion? Like you said, we're gonna see in July.
Tough 12.
Ooh,
Tough 12. It's probably gonna be Knights because terrain's not gonna be. What do we have in July? We have Salt City. We have Capital in Florida, Yeehaw or whatever the hell it is.
You have TGX in Canada.
TGX in Canada. All of these events are super early, and we just now are figuring out the terrain. They're not going to be ready for the new terrain unless they're like Brian, so they already were. So yes, towering is going to be an absolute problem because T12 can't be wounded but by 5s on stuff. But the problem isn't necessarily towering, it's that the terrain hasn't caught up. So throughout July, you're going to see Knights winning events consistently and then getting data slated because GW, because of the fact that terrain hasn't caught up. But the problem really is
I
terrain.
think one of the most important things for going into this is not just devastating wounds. It's not towering. I think anti-X is going to be huge. Specifically things with anti-vehicle 3-up. In particular, the few things that have anti-vehicle and devastating wounds will get very oppressive. I think anti is going to be the big thing, and we'll see a lot of armies that have a lot of hidden potential because they have those abilities.
Points are too high right now for you to be able to deal with. You can't play rock, paper, scissors at the same time. You have to choose what you are, and you can give yourself a game into the other things. But like a Marine player, sure, you can run Grav Devs. Run your 15 Grav Devs. You might even pick up a Knight, and then all your Grav Devs will die. You have to take a list that has Grav Devs, that has Repulsor Executioners, that has Eradicators with Bolter Drill, things to be able to deal with these problems. But if you do that, then you just open yourself up to a host of other problems.
So if you're saying the game is fine, we just have to wait for new terrain, do you think it's a bit irresponsible then to have such a drastic change to the style that you're requiring every TO to basically spend tens of thousands of dollars to update their terrain to be hot? After they just bought plexiglass and everything like that?
Where can I find a rope so I can make a first time meme? Because I mean, this is exactly that moment. I mean, 7th to 8th was bad. 6th to 7th was bad. This is not a new thing for TOs.
I have been a very long time TO. I've been around TOing for years. I have buckets, and I mean buckets of terrain that haven't seen a table since 5th edition, right? There was no need for them. They didn't fit in 6th, they didn't fit in 7th, they didn't fit in 8th, they didn't fit in 9th. Then 10th rolls around and I go, hey, bigger forests might be usable now because you can get into it. It gives squads a little more capabilities. Big forests were annoying in 9th edition because that much dense on a board was very aggravating. So I'm like, maybe these will see play. And I fully admit to, as a TO, I am playtesting games. I don't really care about the armies. I'm trying terrain out. That's half of my TO stuff is I spend time trying to fix the little things.
Here's the first perfect answer to your question. At the end of 9th, was the game well balanced?
Yeah.
How was fucking Adepticon?
You can't count that though. It's every.
But that's the problem. That the terrain for Adepticon is designed for 5th edition. You play on it, and what happened? Everybody's army got evaporated onto. Once we adapt the terrain to 10th edition, that doesn't happen.
Well, fine. We'll go to Anna's statement, right?
Sure.
She says, if terrain is a solution to towering, what happens when the terrain adapts? Does the rule now become pointless? Then why have the rule?
I don't think that the rule is going to become pointless. I think the rule is going to be like what it feels to me like it was designed for was you're big, you can see through those upper floor windows. If you're on that bottom floor behind and you've got first floor blocking line of sight, your infantry can't see them. But your big guys can. They have towering. Your armigers can't see them because they can't see through that bottom floor of the building. Right?
Hold on. But what about your vehicle called the Holy Tailpipe Potato Launcher that has vehicle anti-2 devastating wounds damage?
Don't we can't break NDA and talk about the Marine models that are not released yet with their codex, okay?
Again, there's always going to be every edition change. There's been a boogeyman. There's never been a time where it hasn't happened. I've been through all of them. There's always a boogeyman. There's always going to be something that's not right.
So
luckily now, Games Workshop is much more active at fixing the not right than they ever have been in the past.
So Brad, you had somebody in chat ask us a dumb question because he's trying to figure out what we're talking about.
I put it in chat.
Okay.
At least we're not dealing with 6 fucking flyers that are -6 to hit, scoring objectives, and absolutely wrecking your face in every single angle. Can we get a hallelujah for that?
Yes.
I just brought Marines at deep strike and killed them. And you didn't get to shoot me first. I got to shoot you.
I mean, you can build lists that counter Knights right now, so why are you complaining? All I hear out of you is salt right now.
Oh, I'm not. I'm like some people. It's not salt. I'm just saying I don't think it was the right choice. But I'm also playing Eldar, where I'm going to spam the shot devastating wound. So obviously, I'm part of the problem. Not part of
Yeah.
the-
Welcome
I'm
to the
gonna do it.
Devastating Wounds party. We'll see each other at freaking Salt City, where you'll prove to me in my face, probably on a stream.
I can't
that
wait. What
Devastating
size?
Wounds are a
What
problem.
size are you? What size shirt am I getting you? Devastated.
XLT.
What,
2XL if you can't
XLT?
find an
What is
XLT.
that? Like tiny toddler?
Ex-
Are you
no,
wearing an extra large
sir.
toddler?
No, that's your size.
I was
Brad.
just about to say. Whoa! I buy mine as husky
Sir.
children's.
And better
Hey,
breads.
Brad, I do want to
style.
say, I want to say this because I'm going to regret this later, but I thought you would appreciate this. I have played a couple of practice games with Knights. I did have Canis Rex up there, and Mazarog, the freaking badass with his 4-up invuln and feel no pain, wouldn't die. So Canis came over there, charged him. I used the devastating wound strat, got a couple of explosions, and I did 36 mortal wounds with Freedom's hand.
Well, boys and girls, it is the 8 o'clock hour. What does that mean for us, Brad?
It means that we are going to promote the Salt City GT coming to you. I know this because I was just told, not because I was just told, because I'm an adult and I've been planning for it for a while. 7th, 8th, and 9th of July, the year of our Lord 2024. We're ready to rock it out.
12 tickets left for 40K.
Only 12?
Only 12 tickets left. Yep.
Hell yeah, brother! Get your ticket now if you don't have it already. Holy crap, we're gonna sell out.
All of the things, some of the stuff. Congratulations, Jamie and Steven. Rocking and rolling. USA. But we've had a ton of stuff to talk about. I mean, there's a ton of positive stuff. The thing is I know we were bitching, but the things that we're bitching about are pretty large. The game itself seemed very good. That's what I want to end with tonight. 10th edition, once we get we tweak a few things, I feel is going to be really good. That is where I'm at.
I agree. And I can't wait to see Brad play Knights at Salt City and then lose with them and then complain that towering isn't good enough.
I still can't play Knights. You know I can't. It's not enough models. There's no trash.
When your whole army is T12, you're just living in the trash.
Until you get hit with anti-vehicle 3+ devastating wounds.
Whoa. 3+? Those are children's numbers.
Yeah, I
Pump those up. 2+, yo. And re-rolling. Just in case. All right. Anybody want to plug anything before we rock and roll today?
Hey, have fun, play practice games, enjoy your opponent, don't trash your opponent too much if they're playing towering, and a reminder things will get better. We had plenty of fun last edition. We're going to have a great time this edition.
Oh yeah, I agree. Social contract. Don't ever try to be a dick to your opponent. Have fun.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
stay milky, my friends.
Stay milky.
All of the things. Later.